Traveling can be very expensive, but it can also be very cheap. I've been traveling all over the world for the past 5 years, and I've learned how to do it all on a budget. From airline hacks to getting the best deals on Airbnbs. But the thing that is the most important variable is the countries I decide to go to. In this video, I wanted to give you guys a closer look into my adventures and how I'm able to stretch $1,000 across 30 days, all while traveling to 3 different countries.
Feel it?
You know, one of the main habits that I've picked up during this quarantine has been writing. Typically, I would write a lot of, my thoughts and stuff down in my notes on my iPhone, but I feel like just having a tangible thing like a notebook and a pen to write down your thoughts or maybe your to-do list or even your budgeting has just been so helpful, and I'm excited now after this quarantine to continue doing that. This is actually a notebook that one of my subscribers got me, Brendan, who won my giveaway, and he came out to New York to film a video with me. He surprised me with this custom Get Out and Get Busy notebook. And this is where I've been budgeting some of my travel expenses as well as writing down other notes. But this is what we're gonna use to show you guys how much I spent while traveling through Southeast Asia for 30 days. And we're gonna break this down into the 3 countries that I went to. There was about 10 days in each. So 10 days in Cambodia, 10 days in Vietnam, and then 10 days in Bali. And I'm not gonna lie, I haven't traveled in 3 months now that this quarantine has started, and all of this already is getting me excited for them to uplift all these travel restrictions. So let's get right into it. So first up, we were in Cambodia, and if you're going to anywhere in Southeast Asia in general, you need to get the Grab app. This is basically their form of Uber, but is honestly significantly cheaper. You get picked up in a motorbike or a tuk-tuk, or you can request a car, and it can cost you anywhere from $1 to $2 to go 10 or 15 minutes. And it's honestly just a great way to see a city too. I spent $25 on transportation in Cambodia. That's pretty phenomenal. I think most of that did come from the airport to the hotels, but overall, only $25. Here in New York City, it pretty much costs you $25 to go 1 block. And in Cambodia, we stayed in hostels every night, and if you go to Cambodia, or pretty much anywhere in Southeast Asia, they most likely have a location, but you must stay at a Mad Monkey.
Mad Monkey, what's the place?
It's called Mad Monkey.
Mad Monkey.
I stayed at one in the Philippines, and it was such an amazing experience, and now anytime there is a Mad Monkey in a country that I go to, I always stay there. It costs around $5 per night to get a dorm room bed, but it's not really the accommodations that you're paying for, it's more the experience. Every time I stay at one, I just have the wildest stories from all the people I met or even getting my face painted. The one in Siem Reap, Cambodia in particular was probably my favorite one I've stayed at. They had a pool and even a rooftop restaurant where the floor was sand, and then at every location they also give you free beer for an hour from like 7 p.m. until 8 p.m. And then every hour on the hour, whoever is by the bar, you get a free shot.
No surrender! Cheers!
So if you're trying to get a good night's sleep, maybe I wouldn't recommend this place, but if you're trying to party or even just have a good time, I would definitely say go to Mad Monkey. Mad Monkey. I can't wait to go back to a Mad Monkey. So some of the places that we did stay in Cambodia were a little bit more than that. So overall in Cambodia, we spent $105 each on accommodations. Pretty darn good if you ask me. And if you are going to Southeast Asia, you're definitely gonna want to experience one of their beautiful limestone rock exotic islands. So when we were in Cambodia, we went to Koh Rong. And when you are on these islands like Koh Rong, this is where you're gonna be spending a majority of your money, since there is a lot more tourists, the hotels and food are a bit pricier, but there's still ways to do it on a budget. And for us to get to Koh Rong, we did actually take a flight, since even if you're on a budget, a flight within a country in Southeast Asia is pretty darn cheap. We took one for about 40 US dollars. Nope, it was actually 60 US dollars. So for $60, we got across the country of Cambodia, and then we were able to get to Koh Rong. Okay, now overall on food in Cambodia for the 10 days, I spent $170. And to be completely honest, I would say a majority of that was from the food and going out drinking beers on Koh Rong Islands, because in the cities like Phnom Penh, Siem Reap, everything was so cheap, where beers were 50 cents and then food, you could get a meal for about $2 or $3. But on Koh Rong, it was definitely a bit pricier. On average, you can expect to pay anywhere from around $10 to $15 a day. And then for our activity costs in Cambodia, the only thing we really did was jet skiing in Koh Rong for about 30 minutes. That cost 20 bucks, which I think was a bit overpriced, but the kid who was running the business just was trying to make an honest living and rent his jet ski, so still totally worth it. So for our total in Cambodia for 10 days, it came out to $380. And then we headed off to Hanoi, Vietnam. And out of everywhere that I've traveled in the world, I think Hanoi, Vietnam may be the most affordable. When we arrived, the first place that we stayed at was the Hanoi Backpacker Suite, which was actually a great stay, somewhere that I'd definitely stay again. It's kind of like in Japan how you have like the capsule hotels. This like gives you your own personal space, even though you are sleeping with 16 people. And it was only $3 per night, which included breakfast as well. And the owner was an awesome guy and handsome.
I am Lee.
Lee.
Handsome man.
Handsome man.
Very handsome man.
But there was one night that we wanted to see just how far our dollar could really go and ball out on a nice place. So between the three of us, we got a penthouse suite on like the 12th floor overlooking all of Hanoi, and this luxury apartment with 3 beds, 3 baths, floor-to-ceiling windows looking over the city, a huge kitchen, was only $72 per night. So split between 3 people, it was a very affordable apartment. And overall accommodations for 10 days in Vietnam came out to $79. Can't really get much better than that. I honestly don't think any hotel in New York City is $79 a night. So to get 10 nights in Vietnam, that's a pretty good deal. It would be worth it to go to Vietnam just for the Vietnamese iced coffee. I had at least 2 to 3 a day. They were absolutely delicious, something that you must try and experience in your life. Absolutely delicious. And on top of the coffee, the food in Vietnam is also amazing. Probably my favorite food in the world is Vietnamese food. And when you're in Vietnam eating it, it's very cheap as well. And on top of that, there's also extremely cheap beers. We went to the street in Hanoi where they had 20-cent beers, and they honestly tasted even better than some of the $5 beers I've had.
20-cent beers. Let's try this out. That's pretty good. Tastes better than a $10 beer in New York City.
So between the coffees, the food, and the cheap beers, I only spent, in 10 days in Vietnam, $130. And the next expense for Vietnam was transportation. And the reason why I wanted to go to Vietnam was to do the Ha Giang Loop, which is this 5-day motorbike adventure through northern Vietnam along the border of China. And you just see some of the most beautiful sights that you'll ever see in your life. And on top of that, the whole thing was just this amazing adventure where we met so many amazing locals, went through all these tiny villages, and it was just something I think everyone should do. And that entire expense for renting the motorbike for 5 days was only $32. A lot of these hostels that we did stay at along the way, I remember one in particular, it was called GG Homestay. The owner's name was Tuan. He was such a great host, and we had these little cottages in his tree house of a hostel that was only $2. Tuan was amazing. He even invited us to his family's house for a real authentic Vietnamese dinner. The whole experience was just amazing.
You must drink one by one.
One by one?
Everybody over here.
So overall, Vietnam expenses only came out to $241. And then for $63, we got a flight from Vietnam to Bali, Indonesia. So if you plan to spend a decent amount of time in Bali, you must rent a motorbike. This just makes things so seamless if you want to explore waterfalls or go to different parts of the island and, just enjoy your time without worrying about getting Grabs or Ubers. If you do stay 10 days or more, you're looking at spending around $4 per day on a scooter. And then maybe an additional $2 a day on gas as well. For the $6 a day for 10 days in Bali, we were looking at, for transportation, $60. And the next expense for food in Bali, you can do it two different ways where they do have, American prices of getting a $10 burger. But then you can also find other places where it's significantly cheaper, or even going to a warung. It's a place where if you're looking to get some authentic Indonesian food, cooked by a local, you need to go to a warung. And you can get rice, chicken, noodles, eggs, just a huge plate of food for all under $2. So there were days where we'd go to a warung for lunch and even dinner in the same day. And I was able to keep my expenses in Bali for food down so much. Another thing in Bali that they're known for is dragon fruit. So you also must try the smoothies and even their acai bowls. These are a fraction of the price as they are here in America. So I know acai bowls can be like 14 or 15 bucks here. I should also mention that Bali has a pretty amazing nightlife. So if you're looking to go out and have drinks and meet other travelers, Bali is a great place for that. One of my favorite bars in the world is in Bali in Canggu. It's called Pretty Poison. There's live rock music every night and even a skate bowl at the bar. So the total spent towards food in Bali was $155. For accommodations in Bali, there are hostels that are definitely very affordable, but if you're going there, I highly recommend getting your own Airbnb. Especially if you are traveling with other people, you can get a place for 50 bucks that has a private pool, even 2 rooms, and a fairly luxurious Airbnb, all for about $12 per person. And I'd say that's probably the reason why I keep going back to Bali, is because it's such a great place to escape from New York City, where it's so chaotic every day, and just in Bali you can be in a peaceful, relaxing, exotic paradise, and for a very affordable price. But overall in Bali, I only spent about $10 per day on average. So that left me for the 10 days spending only $100. So Bali, the total spent was $315 plus what I spent in Vietnam and Cambodia, which was $724. So after traveling for 30 days between 3 different countries and covering food and accommodation for 30 days, 3 flights, transportation, motorbikes, beers, all the Vietnamese iced coffees I could drink, villas with private pools, and amazing acai bowls, we only spent $1,039. That's a lot of money, but compared to what I got out of it, the experiences, the quality of food and adventures that I got, that's totally worth it. And I think that's why I do continuously go back to Southeast Asia, is because you just get such a good bang for your buck. You know, $1,039 won't even cover you just your rent here in New York City. So to be able to get all of this, flights and accommodations and food, it's just amazing. And why I definitely plan to go back after this quarantine is over. And speaking of that, my next video is actually going to be about the top 10 places to travel after quarantine. So look forward to that video, and I will see you guys next week.